Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 4 race starts. We're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4.
They are absolutely taking charge of this race within the first 1,000 metres, and there are riders dropping off the back of this group already.
Moreno at the moment has got the gap. Theme, Van Elster, Sultan, Dan, Howeiler, all behind, but it is a much smaller group. This is the leading group in Category 2, and this is a sharp end. This is the crux, I think, of the initial selection going to be made as they go over the top. They're passing our riders in Categories 3, in Category 4, and they can see this express train coming through. Look at the power and pace of our Category 1 riders.
Pushing on at the moment, SS and X100 trying to close down. Now you can see the pack ahead. It's only 5 or 6 seconds, and they are bringing that gap back down.
This is the run for the line. The yellow banner is in sight. Who's going to take it? Fernandez and Gonzalez are fighting it out. Pleasure's right behind him. It's going to be Fernandez takes it. So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier race number 3. We've had 1, we've had 2. They were both absolute blasts, but we are on Last Chance Saloon to get a qualifying ride in for our finals that are coming up next week. It's great to be in the studio. I'm Matt Payne.
And I'm Emma Martin, and we will be bringing you all of the action today.
I'm really looking forward to this because I always like the slight desperation for some people because they really want to make this count today in the final qualifier prior to the end of the month. And it could be reflected today because the course really does make life difficult because you've got to put a big kick in at that finish.
Well, it's a really interesting course today. So we're in Alua today. We are on the Heritage Climb finish. It's 45 kilometres, 506 metres of climbing. And you can see there 4 climbs on this course today. The first 3, not particularly steep, but the final climb, a Category 3 climb, it's 6.2 kilometres long with an average gradient of 5.2%. But as you can see there, it's a stepped climb, and there are some particularly steep sections on this climb.
And that's also true to some degree of the first, second and third climbs on the way through. Whilst the average gradient is 1.1% at the first climb, it comes off the flat straight into a steep ascent.
It does indeed, and it comes very, very early at 1.7 kilometres into this race. So out at the start pens, it is a flat run, but before you get to kilometre number 2, you head upwards. There are also 7 segments along the way, which will give us an indication of the racing. They are individual, discrete, timed segments so that we can see what is happening in all 4 of our race fields.
And we'll dissect the climb a little bit closer to it as our riders approach that probably a little bit later for you. But let's dive in with our riders who are sat down in those pens. And we'll kick that off with our Category 4 riders who will be the first riders away. There's 5 minutes between Categories 1 and 2. There's 5 minutes between 3 and 4, but then 10 minutes in the middle between 2 and 3. So Category 4, our first race category, and a cracking race field in here. Nice big field of riders, and the Red Furies team still always in there. They're absolutely ever present. We need to give them a prize for that or something.
Ever present, and Finati is in there today for the Furies, and going to be interesting to see him race today alongside Mileno Ramos, who always has a fast start. Guven, Kokin, and Martinoli. 35 riders in Category 4 on the start sheets today, but a lot of our regulars we are not seeing today in Category 4, and that's because they have progressed to Category 3.
So congratulations, guys. Well done on the increase in your performance. That means you've moved up. Commiserations. It means it's going to be even tougher.
But it means it's going to be great racing in Category 4 because it makes it much more open.
As the great Eddie Merckx says, you don't doesn't get any easier. It just gets quicker.
Well, that is it indeed, and it's going to be quick today. We've got 14 seconds until our first race is underway.
So here we go into the countdown. Our riders are ready to move. This is where we're kicking off the first of our riders away. And here we go. So qualifier race number 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. They're up and racing, this big pack moving out pretty much together, and looks like everybody getting a smooth exit. One or two people just at the back of the pack having to settle in quickly, and this is a fast start out. 40 kilometers an hour or 25 miles an hour if you're working old money, making its way down the straight here before we come into that left-hand turn at the moment. Quickly out, but the group pretty much together.
Yeah, but Velada is putting a really big push on here at the moment. 5 watts per kilo at the moment from Velada. He's making these riders sprint behind him to close the gap and catch. So Mamba and Kutab are the 2 riders closing the gap on the back of Velada, but Velada is not letting off at the moment.
And it's a very, very big, hard start when you've got this climb coming. I mean, you're going to be in the red on that climb. If anybody puts pressure on, it's an obvious attack point, and yet we're seeing people kicking from the start.
I know we said this was a big race field today in Category 4, but there are 45 kilometres of racing today with a Category 3 climb coming at the 38.8 kilometre mark. This is not a 10k sprint.
Don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. I'm loving this.
Bernard is continuing to push on here and splitting this race field apart.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to break this group up early, you want to get rid of people quite quickly, it's a great way to do it. Go in hard into the climb. Anybody on the limit is going to be found out very, very fast, and they're going to be out, and you're going to have taken that group down. I know it's a long way to go, Emma, but you know, it is a big race field. That's a lot of people. 5 riders will be taking away prizes at the end of today in this race field. That means they've got to get that group down.
Yeah, but you know, only so many times you can go into the red in a race like this, you know, Matt. And you know, for that length of time in the first 2 minutes of racing, I mean, I know it's starting to settle down now, but boy, was that a fast 2 minutes.
Well, let's see how long it takes them to get to that climb. It's not going to be long at all. We're 2 minutes in. But 1.4k covered, which means we're only a few hundred meters before we hit the start of the first climb, which is in itself 2.66k long. Now, it starts steep and then it eases off as you go up over the top. They're not far from hitting that. You'll see the top right hand side of the screen, the gradient at the moment, a minus 0.2%. 0.3, and that is basically the little dip in before it climbs, but then we're going to go on to the climb and the gradient will kick up, and that is going to put the pressure on the riders here in Category 4. Some great riders in here, some of our regulars in, joined by some of our newer riders who have found their feet and been allocated into Category 4 once the data has been analysed. Remember, guys, make sure if you're going to come and join a race, or if you're racing regularly, that you jump in and make sure you get plenty of data down by riding lots on the platform.
Well,
we're telling you to ride your bike lots. Does it get any better than that?
Come and join us on the Sunday Race Club. We would love to see you on the start line. Head over to the events page. You can click on the Sunday Race Club. All the information you know is there, and you can join these riders heading skywards as the gradient starts to go up.
So our Category 4 riders hit the first of those climbs after that incredibly quick start. And you're going to see, I think, these riders get thinned out a little bit here. They're starting to get into a line rather than a bunch, but it is a bunch sat on the start of Category 3 because we have an even bigger race field for Category 3. Give us the numbers, Emma.
For Category 3, we've got 42 riders on the start sheets today, and a number of those riders have come up from Category 4. So Adriana Zanaska, Alex Pledger, Johan Aron, Dexter Abello, Luca Bala, all coming up from Category 4 and progressing to Category 3. I'm looking forward to watching Staples, Mayard, Winfield, Garin, Gakes, Lloyd, all joined by those Category 4 riders trying to prove themselves.
Yeah, and Mark Dadson in there as well. Dadson taking second in the Tune-Up Tuesday in the Oceania time slot for that. So absolutely flying. In fact, Staples, Aaron, Dadson, and Espina Hernandez all taking top 5 positions in Tune-Up Tuesdays. Really, really interesting to see how they are going and how they're going to go now that we're on the longer race on the Sunday Race Club.
So we're in with a bellow as the seconds kick down. We are in with category 3 and away they go on the Sunday Race Club. This is qualifier race number 3 for June. The final is next week and these riders need to qualify. So as we swing out of the start pens, we've got another fast start off of the line today and a real stretch on this group. Again, these riders are coming out thick and fast, and it's riders here. It's Swart at the moment, Evan Swart, who is pushing on here. Dexter Bello is in there as well. These riders have seen those category 4 riders leave the pens quickly, and they are emulating what has gone on earlier.
And it's aided, isn't it, by this fast downhill start. It's emulated by the long straight. It is a really quick kick off. And if you're going to put the power down, you're going to be moving, and it's a long line of riders. You can see that top right-hand side of your screen, the blue dots in one line, long line. They come together, they stretch back out again, but a big pack. As Emma said, 42 riders on this start list in category 3, and it's going to ensure we've got some absolutely fearsome competition. As we mentioned earlier, riders who are figuring right up there. Now, Tune-Up Tuesdays, which we mentioned, every Tuesday. You've raced on a Sunday, you've put some rest in on the Monday, you're going to ride and you're going to get stretch those legs. All the distances are short. The next stage coming up is stage 3 of the current block of Tune-Up Tuesdays. Now, the third of 3, you can jump in just for the stage. It's 15.7k long. So it's perfect for doing a race effort. It's got 135 meters of climbing on the way through, and it's on a points basis. So one category. It's just an open race for everyone.
The question is, can we convince Matt to race on Tuesday and put his, I was going to say his money where his mouth is, but actually it'd be his legs where his mouth is.
I'm just glad it's not money. I don't have much of that. I do have bigger legs than I have bank account. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's not a hill climb, is it?
It's not. It's definitely not 135 meters, but it is perfect to tune those legs up ready. And it's a great way to get some data in as well. And because it's on a points basis, you can go for lots of little sprints and really stretch legs. So perfect training, whether you are a category 3 rider or a category 4. Interesting to see Jan Dekker, one of our riders who has really been progressing of late, pushing on here at 4k. Now they're going over the top of the climb. So this is the top of the first climb. As they roll over the top, the speed will pick up. Any gaps will be amplified. Anybody off the back will have to work harder, but anybody in a pack will have an advantage as that pace picks up and going down into the descent, just like you would find on the road if you're out and riding over this shaped roller. Very, very realistic, and it is key, guys. Make sure that you keep all of your settings on your turbo trainers, etc., lined up with the original manufacturer settings. It keeps it consistent, and consistent data is really key to get those verified results that get you qualified. Now, right hand side of your screen was category 4, but we're bringing up category 3 because they are about to make their way in and underneath the banner here. Now, the blue banners signify the start here of segment number 1. Segment number 1 here is a 1 kilometer segment from 2k to 3k. And we're just in with Mark Dadson, who had that second place in finishing Tune-Up Tuesdays this week on stage number 2. Absolutely flying. Great points haul by him as he came in through. Great to see he was out racing, using it to get that those efforts in, which that's key. Emma, you're a coach and train riders regularly. I mean, we've trained riders that are now on the World Cup circuit. You've trained riders who have represented the nation. These riders are racing on a Sunday. They're putting in a massive effort, and it's on eSports, so it is constant. There's no freewheeling. There's no taking it easy. Mondays, I guess, would be a rest day of some sort, but then you've got to start training again.
Well, it very much depends. I'm going to take a bit of a cop out here because it very much depends on the individual rider, and it very much depends on whether they're a full-time rider or whether they have a full-time job and are a part-time rider. And obviously, individual programs will differ depending on what they do. But you are right. A lot of people, Sunday is your race day, Monday is your rest day. And as you move through that program and through the week, now, obviously, it's not just week in, week out that's important for these riders. Some of these riders will have a big overall goal for the year. So some of the riders, we might see some of the category 1 or category 2 riders targeting a national championships or a world championships or a Grand Fondo, for example. Some of these other riders, everybody will have their own targets. The Sunday Race Club may be part and parcel of that. And for some of our riders, esports is their priority. And absolutely, the Sunday Race Club is part and parcel of that. And we are just currently watching now as we're getting to the top of the climb. Tom Gates is the rider on the attack, and he's sweeping across the boardwalk at the moment, and he's putting in a few seconds to the group behind. So Gates now on the attack.
And he's using that top of the climb to go over the top and to stretch the group. He's accelerated the very top of the climb. And that's the other thing that you can do, obviously, by racing. It is a different tactical, it's a different effort. It's learning where those skills that you learn by racing are different to those that you'll necessarily pick up by riding, aren't they? And they are key.
You could be training fit, but you can be race fit, and those are two very different things.
It's a good job there's no camera seeing who I was pointing at that moment in time. So getting to know how to race and to race on MyWhoosh, really, really key. We're just in with Marcos Brito at the moment. He's just winding up on the front of this group. He's pushing on here as they come in underneath the banner here that signifies the end of segment number 2. So stretching his legs out here and seeing how they're feeling, I'm sure, but learning where to put that effort in. You can't replicate that in training like you can in racing, and that's another great reason to come and jump on the Tune-Up Tuesday, isn't it?
Absolutely, because being a great bike racer is not just about being the fittest rider. There are lots more components to great racing than just being fit. All of these riders are fit. Everybody in category 1, there is minutiae between them in terms of fitness, but in terms of racecraft, in terms of tactics, in terms of the ability to ride on the platform, when to put the effort on, how to ride with momentum, etc. All of these things, how to position yourself in the bunch, how to utilize the draft best. All of those components create a good MyWhoosh racer. And all of those things you learn, or most of those things you learn through racing.
And so whether you're category 1, I guess, or category 4,
is immaterial.
Putting that in your program, so by doing a Tune-Up Tuesday where there are lots of shorter efforts over a shorter time frame, you can actually you can pack a lot of learning as well as physical in at the same time.
So for example, a lot of people put a lot of stead into FTP, your 20-minute power. But actually for the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, yes, we see some riders ride away and try to time trial away, which is a good indication of, consistent power. But here, when you've got these short, sharp climbs, when you've got kick efforts, actually your 1-minute power is more important than your 20-minute power. And that is absolutely brilliant for training through racing.
I remember that. You never know. You might see me on the start line.
For 1 minute.
For 1 minute. And then I'll be out the back. Right. Okay. So category 3 have been rolling for 8 minutes, a lot more than just one, and currently approaching 5 kilometers. And at the moment, a fair-sized group, as we're seeing in category 4 as well. Both sets of riders over the first of the climbs, different distances on the way back down again, though. And you can just see moving at a very similar pace as well. So categories 4 and 3 already underway. 8 kilometers covered for category 4, 5 kilometers covered for category 3. Category 2 will be our next set of riders away. Then there'll be 5 minutes to category 1. So category number 2 in the green will be our next race category. And we said there's been big fields before. This again, another big field and incredibly competitive. And we can see our riders, I think, going to be quite nervous, because if I was in that bunch, I know who you're up against. I think this is a tough field.
Well, it is a tough field. So 39 riders in Category 2 today, and we are seeing riders progress. So Filippo Quadrelli coming up from Category 3. The two brothers raced together once as Enrico moved from Cat 4 to Cat 3. They raced for a week, and then Filippo has moved to Cat 2. But you are right. Betty is here. Bjarhead, Kirchner, Van Horringen, Solin, Graves. We've also got Giuliano, Spratt, the Cayen brothers, Simmons, Diduch, Winfield is here as well, and Alramethri. Phenomenal field in Cat 2 today.
So let's see who's going to take this out in Category 2. Will they emulate Categories 4 and 3 and go from the gun? Time to find out. Category 2 are ready. They're lined up and they are go. So this is when they've got to kick. They've got to stay with that group, get distance now. You're going to have a massive effort to get back in touch with this big group of riders wanting to get in. A good performance here to get themselves set up with a verified ride that matches their performance. You can see very quickly out from the gun, 45 kilometers an hour I saw there on that kick. And if that bunch all kick at the same time, it really does multiply up that draft effect. The faster you go, the faster it is, and it is not just a linear increase. It's definitely more squared as you go through when it's just talk about aerodynamics. So it is very much about getting out in the bunch, in a big group, and really wind it up. And if you have distance, one of the favourites, well, make them work hard to get back in.
Well, we've got a couple of riders working hard to get back onto the back of this group already, and not even a minute of racing has taken place. So as this Category 2 field move through the early stages of this race, we are in with Philip Graves at the moment. Now, Graves was second last week to Ochoa. He won the week before, so absolutely on phenomenal form.
And one of the reasons, do you know what he did this week on Tuesday? He didn't just ride one tune on Tuesday.
He rode two.
He rode two.
No.
He did. So I tell you what he actually got.
He doubled up.
He did a double day. So Phil Graves is based in the UK, so he's not quite on GMT, but it's close. So the times for the Tuesday, tune-up Tuesday, is 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. GMT. Phil Graves rode the Oceania one. He got third overall. Then he rode the Europe one and got second overall in that. So split apart by about 8 hours. He put in 2 top 3 performances on the tune-up Tuesday. So when you say he's on form, boy, is he on form. Either that, or he's just immune to pain. One or the other.
I don't know, but immune at the moment is Marcos Brito, because Brito is the rider attacking in Category 4 at the moment, 10 kilometres into this race. They are on climb number 2. It's 3.4 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 2%, but it's a flat top, so it does indeed kick in parts. And Brito is the rider pushing on, just 1 second clear of Decker. So Decker is the rider pulling the group, and they've started to lose riders off the back of this Category 4 pack, because the pace today in Category 4 is absolutely rolling them across this course, fast and furious.
Yeah, 10k in. I mean, we started off saying, hang on boys, it's 45k to do. They've already done 10.5. They're absolutely flying today. And so we're seeing Category 2. But will they be a bit more measured here? They've across the road, usually an indicator that the pace is not as hot.
Yeah, the pace here is a lot more steady. So 2.7 watts per kilo from Spratt at the moment, with a heart rate of 145. Now that is telling me that Category 2 are not emulating Category 3 or Category 4.
And Nicholas Spratt, number 1 on Oceania on Tune-Up Tuesdays. There you go. Another fast rider utilising Tune-Up Tuesday. And don't forget, if you can't make Tune-Up Tuesday, if you can't hit one of those time zones, there are lots of training plans. Don't panic.
Yeah, but what is really interesting, Matt, is we're seeing different riders perform at different levels for different things. So Tune-Up Tuesday, a shorter race. The Sunday Race Club, 45 kilometres for the men. The MyWhoosh Championships was 70 kilometres for the men. So different riders come to the fore in different places.
They do indeed. Who will come to the fore, though, in Category 1 today? Final chance for our Category 1 riders to get a verified ride in. They are our last group on the road to set off. They won't be the last over the finishing line by any stretch of the imagination. Now, in here, we have our big teams. We have the UAE Clan team. We have the Beast Mode Pudding powered by Rose. We've got the Italian Gelato and the Belgian Waffle. So if you were hungry before we started this race, you're going to be ravenous by the end, because these guys are all going to feature right up in the action and on your screens. And they contain some of our big name riders, don't they, Emma?
There are some big named riders today. 53 riders on the start sheets in category 1, from Popovic, SS, X100, Vink and Knudsen to Van den Eckhout, Noren, Mirza Al Humadi, Van Elst, Panitza, Theme, Vujasin, Bjorklund, Paradians, Cutler, Osborne, Nair, Kaminsky. It is a stacked field, and it has been giving us some great racing this month. So as the clock ticks down, the Category 1 riders are ready to go, and we are away on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is Qualifier Race number 3 in June, and the Category 1 men are up and out of the start pen.
So great riding by the riders. They come out and clear, and you can just see one long line already coming out. But this is quite a thick line. They're not one and one and one and one. They're 2 and 3 wide, because it's a massive race field, the biggest race field. Remembering, of course, that this is where all of our riders start off with, because we don't put riders who might be amazing. You might have former Tour de France winner sat in with the riders in for category 4 if we put them all in there. And this way we get to find out the data, and you can add to that data. We do have a world-class pros in here. Jason Osborne riding today, and he's right in here. Remember, he rides for that World Tour team. He's a rider who's right up there. People like Michael Vink, again, in action for that UAE World Tour team. Zach Nair is international standard. Stefan Van Elst definitely is, and we were just talking earlier about not all that long ago, about the Tune-Up Tuesday. Stefan Van Elst, number 1 on the European time slot this week on stage number 2. So it shows you he's right up there in the points. But interestingly, there were riders in categories 1, 2, and 3 in the top 5 of all of the rides in all of the Tune-Up Tuesday. So it is mixed, because it's a points basis. So it does mix it up, and there are prizes out there for points and for sprints. It's not done on over the line. But Stefan Van Elst, very, very classic, and a rider who could score today, but maybe not his kind of climb in terms of having that kick, the rest, the kick, the rest. It's a more explosive rider in some ways. Somebody like Pablo Popovic, who's got great use of momentum and can kick and then take it easy. I think he could well be the rider who could be up there. My tip for the top today. There you are. I'm off the fence early today.
Oh, well, there you go. But whilst Matt's tip for the top is already on the line, we can see the group rolling through. So currently coming up for 1.4 kilometres of racing. This is a steady group at the moment. I can see 2.7 watts per kilo, 2.9 watts per kilo. This group have rolled out, and have rolled out steady today.
They have, and one of the things about pro racing, and very interesting to see, is the way these riders keep on pushing. So just taking a little look here, Stefan Bruce on his way clear of category 3 at the moment. Now, Stefan is one of our regulars in the racing. Looks very, very strong, and great to see that he is taking the action on and taking it to the other riders. So Stefan, a regular rider, really is accelerating up. Let's see what he can do. Can he stay clear? Is he going to force some action from the riders behind?
Absolutely. So let's take a look in here. But this is a category 3 rider already catching a category 4 back marker. So Bruce moving on there, whilst on the category 1 race field, we've got a big stretch coming now. This is the first climb of the day. It is indeed pushing on here, and we've got a push coming on here. It's Bjorklund leading the charge up this first climb.
So Jakob Bjorklund, another of our regular riders on the Sunday race, with Che Ho, while right behind Crystal Theme in there, Johan Noren. And this looks like this is going to be a little bit of a breakaway starting to form on the front here. Can these 3 riders make life difficult for the rest of the race field? Now, remember that final climb here has 296 meters of climbing in the final climb. So that is nearly 300 meters of the 500 meters of climbing on the last climb, but it's not flat anywhere. So here we go, riders chasing behind, trying to close the gap down, but it's not a concerted chase. I think Hassan Sultan tucked it nicely in this group, doing a bit of work on the front to close the gap. There's numbers in black, top left-hand side of your screen. Remember, the numbers go green as they've just done as he goes into the draft, and he's in behind the other riders, saving energy, traveling at the same speed but for less effort. When you're on the front cutting through the draft, you're going to go in and through. For a long, extensive talk about drafting, go back to last week's show, because I think I waffled on for several minutes about drafting there.
Yeah, well, whilst you're waffling on about drafting, we've got riders attacking off the front of this group, and they've pushed on here. And the group are now stretching out, and we've got a rider flying off the front of the group to catch that. So Christoph Thiem is the rider out front, and it is Bjorklund now coming up onto the wheel. Knudsen is there as well as these riders continue to push.
So Jakob Bjorklund going up over the top of Christoph Thiem at the moment, and it looks like the next riders up in front of them actually are our Category 2 riders, the nearest riders sitting 1 minute 10 up the road, so they're going to have a bit of distance to get to, but that attack reflected in the time through segment 1. So the discrete windows, the discrete timing for this segment, really, really important. It gives us a good reflection on how our riders are riding. You can see Thiem and Bjorklund 5 seconds clear, but then that group is all together, isn't it, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. That group is all together, and we can see it is a big, big group of Category 1 riders. In fact, 25 riders in total.
So that is a big-sized pack, and that's a lot of power. I mean, you can probably power a small city with the amount of wattage these guys can. You light it up anyway, with the amount of watts that these guys are kicking out. And at the moment, bringing back that group on the front steadily, but not super quick here. And sometimes one of the things that we're watching here is who is not reacting, who is sitting in there being very careful, because put your energy down now, spend that effort. You are burning up a lot of energy. Really interesting to see. We are not seeing many of the UAE clan teams sticking their nose out in the wind yet.
Well, Knudsen was part and parcel of that chase group there, but you are quite right, and this is a group that is probably going to come together, but very, very quickly as these three riders are brought back in. This is going to be a really interesting race, I think, today, because there are some absolutely quality riders in here. I say that week in, week out, but it just keeps happening. People keep entering, and we have a class field every week. It produces some great racing. And whilst we know who should be there or thereabouts, it never produces the same results. So in the last 3 weeks, Knudsen, Popovic, Van Elst, Osborne, Martins, Vink, Safrazad, X100, Mirza, Vujassin have all finished in the top 5. Now, there are other riders in here. So Osborne, for example, capable of finishing in the top 5 as well as Paradians, etc. So, it produces great racing, and it produces really great viewing.
It does, and please do make sure that you subscribe, jump on board and subscribe on YouTube or on Twitch TV. Don't forget, send us in the pictures, tag us in as well. If you're going to send in the pictures, we'd love to see where you're riding, what you're riding. Some great pictures coming in, and this one particular one just going to put on the MyWhoosh Instagram feed. A fantastic one. Don't forget, of course, that you can jump on there. Make sure you're tagging MyWhoosh of your riding and what you're up to when you're on there riding. It is great to see what you get up to and where you're riding. You can tag in MyWhoosh. It is at MyWhoosh on Instagram, Facebook, as well as my_whoosh on Twitter. Don't forget to tag in Emma. Emma is an absolute addict to know where you are in the world, whether you are in your front room, whether you are outside on the balcony, whether you're set up in the mountains. She was particularly enamored by the Irish mountains. Somebody was in, I think it was Ross Fawcett the other week.
It was indeed.
But please do show us a picture where you're at. If you're Mr. X100 riding at the moment, show us what you're looking at. Are you looking at a tiny little 1970s black and white TV, or have you got like the world's biggest TV screen in front of you?
I do like to look at people's setups and where they are set up.
Definitely. So tag in Emma at Biking Emma on Instagram. So it's at Biking Emma. That's on Instagram and on Facebook. Don't forget you can tag me in as well. It's at Matt Fixer Pain, and we always love to know what you're getting up to, what you're racing, where you're riding. It does help us somewhat with our homework as well. Our copious notes will extend beyond the umpteen pages. We actually had to build a new desk in the studio with multiple layers just for all of the notes. It's a true story, that. Oh, I know it. I've still got the splinters.
Yeah, so we are in a rebuilt studio at the moment, and the luxury of having all the riders' names in front of us is absolutely fantastic. But also having all the riders on the screen in front of us, because you can see those 4 races all at the same time. Now back in with the Category 1 riders. They are coming under that blue banner, signifying the end of segment number 2, as we are watching Sultan, and he's pushing on with SS for company. There you go, the UAE clan team. Jason Osborne, Vujassin and Dan Nair also all at the front of this pack, because this is starting to go downhill now after that first climb.
So here we go, segment number 2 in. It's Hassan Sultan with the fastest time, with them Walter, Vujassin, Hawaii Popovic, Van den Eekhout coming in through. Interesting to see that we got Tatu Koistunen back in once again. Tatu, one of the riders we saw on the championships. Rob Miller in here from the States, as well as Michael Kaminsky racing as well. Now Michael's been getting plenty of miles in out on the bike, or plenty of kilometres in. And don't forget, of course, all of that because it tagged us in. So good illustration. Meanwhile, SS on the front here for the UAE clan team, just rolling through. This is not an attack by SS. We know he's capable of incredible power up on the front. He uses that regularly in the support of the UAE clan team teammates. He's regularly known for being the man who goes back and helps people back on the bunch if they have an issue, who pulls back breakaways, and again, just patrolling the front here. So SS of that team just being joined by Jason Osborne, Rob Miller, Tim Cutler right up there. Simon Walter is getting quicker and quicker. It can't be long, I don't think, before we see Walter taking a top spot on the podium. And Tim Cutler, again, another of our aggressive riders on the front. And Stefan Van Al's just hovering in and around. Interesting that Zach Nair, a rider who I would expect to be right up in the mix, is sitting in the wheels at the moment. He's very carefully hiding out of the way. And you'd be hard-pressed to beat Zach's experience in terms of running on these spots. I mean, regular at things like the World Championships and at the top level of competition.
Absolutely, and a great rider to follow on social media, because well known for analysing his own power output. So if you are interested in those types of things, take a look and follow Zach and see what he is putting out.
So tempted to tell you how often Emma geeks out over things like power curves and wattage, and we're sat in the office and she'll be, are you doing your, what research are you doing? I'm focusing on power and power outputs and 10-second power, and I'm going, I want to know what these riders are getting up to, what they have for breakfast, what they've been riding, where they're riding, and I was like, no, I want to know the numbers.
I want to know who can win the sprint at the end of the race. But whilst we are chatting about what we stalk on social media, the Category 2 race is pushing on and lighting up, because they are now at 11.2 kilometres and they are well into this climb at the moment. So 3.6% gradient at the moment as Category 2 push on. We've got red, yellow and purple on the screen in front of us on that right-hand side. So the purple indicating we are in with Paolo Kirchner, the red and yellow indicating the power of the riders and the output and effort they are putting in around him. So they continue to push on. It's a large group of riders in this Category 2 race. Let's remind ourselves it was 39 riders who started this race in Category 2, and I'd argue that's nearly 39 riders still in that pack.
Scary, isn't it? To take all of those riders into a finish, it's just not on my agenda in any way, shape or form. So let's see how they thin that out. Let's see if they thin that out before we get into the finish. Currently, our Category 1 riders approaching the 10-kilometre marker of 45k. And because they are at that 9.2k, they will know that they are approaching the second of the climbs. Now, a lot of the teams, a lot of the riders always put that course profile down onto the stem. If you've got aero handlebars, it's now much easier. You've got a bit more space to stick down the course profile or the details of when those climbs are. But the riders also, of course, because they are riding on esports, have the advantage of having screens, being able to have a desk set up around them, and all of the data coming in that you can see on your screens as well, these riders can pick up. So really, really important to know where you are, what's coming up, and when you're needing to kick. This group, Emma, it's thinned down, and that, I think this group are going to stay together. I'm going to put my money on this group not losing too many until we hit the final climb now.
Well, through segment number 1, there were 25 riders in this Category 1 group. Through segment number 2, there were 23 riders in this group. So it is indeed getting smaller. And very shortly, once they get to the 10-kilometre mark, and it is indeed the banner you will see in the distance, we will see how many riders are coming through segment number 3 in this group. And I think that's going to be an interesting tell as to how many riders are moving at this pace, because this pace is quite strong at the moment.
It is, and for me, I think this is going to be really interesting how these numbers whittle down, but also I think how we see them do that, because sometimes it's done by riders being aggressive. At the moment, we're not seeing an aggressive race. We're not seeing multiple attacks off the front. We're not seeing the UAE clan team launch down 4 or 5 riders.
Not at all. And you can see that there by the riders coming through and who is in which position. So Sultan setting the fastest time through that segment, 1 minute 32. Bruce from Category 3 on the attack coming through in second place, and then we see the pack from Category 1: Holwiller, SS, Kaminsky, Vink, Van den Eckhout, Nair, Paradians, Van Elst, Osborne and Dahn, rounding out the top 12. So interesting to see what's going on in that Category 3 race soon.
Well, Emma was summing that up. I've done the numbers. Emma, before you look, have a guess how many riders are left in that leading group of Category 1 riders?
22.
Indeed. Correct, Mondo. Well, and
I didn't cheat either.
No, indeed not. Indeed, I can't think of anybody, less likely to cheat than Emma, to be honest. Just, wouldn't bend the rule if it was if it was possible.
As my nan used to say when we used to play drafts and chess, she never played with a cheat.
And you play with a lot, so clearly you don't cheat. Unlike my mum, who cheats like mad.
At Scrabble.
At Scrabble, indeed.
Yeah. Other games are available.
Indeed they are. Now, this is more like chess at the moment, and it's a very quieter game of chess, a very thinking game of chess in this Category 1. Interesting that Stefan Proust was on the attack in Category 3, and we've got Henry Uys on the attack in Category 2 now, and he's done it over the top. He's currently at 13.7k. You can see he's gone over the top of climb number 2. And as he's gone over the top, this has given him that gap. He's now winding this up, but behind him is a big group, and that group will have the advantage of the draft. Now, it doesn't mean it's pointless going on the attack from the front, but it does mean he's going to have to work harder to stay clear of this group. But the other thing he's done is ridden up that climb and over the top at his pace, not following somebody else's pace. So that could be worth the extra expenditure of energy to stay clear solo.
Well, it's good to see Quadrelli is in this group moving into category 2. He's in the pack, he's in the bunch, he's in the mix, and he is in there with Ospina and Kayan, Cadiz and Smythe. Gonsolin is in there, so is BR Head, and Ospina. Kranich is there too. Von Haren is there as well. This is a loaded category 2 field today.
Okay, you're just going through on the screen there, and one of the regular attackers, he's a regular man off the front. You've got the Kayans in there, you've got Burke and Karen Kayan. It really is. I mean, the expected culprits up at the front. Interesting to see that we got Filippo Quadrelli in there after that move up through, and a well earned as well. Great to see, and a rider who has really came into his own in the championship and has stayed in with us. Great to see. Now, back in with category 3, you can just see another push coming in as they go in and down at the moment. Jack Staples it is, who's up on the front here. He's got Dadson in that group with him, a Bello, a Rego as well. Looks like David Winfield in the mix, Barlas in there. Stefan Proust being brought back into the group as they came back together again, but surely the winner's going to come from this group. You can't imagine anybody catching this, but it's still such a big group. It has that draft advantage, it has the pace. You can see really motoring the way down here, but they are at 21.2, so still not quite at half race distance. A lot further out. Well, category 1 at the moment, it's looking like a bit of a club run to me.
It is steady as it goes, isn't it, at the moment? A big group of riders, and in fact we've got a category 2 rider in the mix, so there's a green jersey in there as well, able to hang in with this group at the moment and take the toe and the draft off this large pack. I'm taking a little look at heart rates at the moment, and we're currently sitting at 160 at the moment with the rider that we're in with at the moment. So 3.5 watts per kilo, 4 watts per kilo is indeed Michael Suarez, who is the category 2 rider in the mix. Sultan at the moment. Vujasin, look at that, 142 Lionel Vujasin's heart rate at the moment. That tells me it's not really got going yet.
It's squeezing, but it's not an effort, is it?
Not yet.
Yeah, and this is the thing, when you have this backloaded route with a big climb at the end, sometimes it does promote a race where the riders don't want to expend too much energy. Nobody gambles, nobody goes for it, and because of that, they all come in that bit fresher into the finish, and they just make that finish harder.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? But as we said, the class and quality of this field, everyone is going to be climbing and climbing strongly if they have a steady start to this race. And they've had a steady start to this race. No one is burning the legs off the climbers at the moment. We don't have anybody attack after attack after attack and trying to dull those climbers' legs. At the moment, what we've got, as you're indicating, Matt, is more of a Sunday club run into the final climb, where we're going to have a 7-kilometre race with riders who, let's be honest, can all push very hard for 7 kilometres.
They can indeed. I mean, this is a sort of pace where you're going to be able to take on board fuel. You can take a bar, you can take a gel, but you don't want to do that too early. And if this pack rolls slowly for long enough, people's fueling strategies are going to need some adaptation, aren't they?
Can we just say, rolling slowly for long enough is relative. That is relative to this category 1 race. Anybody looking at this and going 4.8 watts per kilo is not rolling slowly. It is relative to these riders.
It is, but if you have fueled up, so like I would take an energy bar, I would always work on about half a bar an hour, and I work on a bottle an hour, 500ml bottle an hour. That's my standard, because I know where I'm going to be. But then I would adapt that to allow for the fact that when I hit the bottom of the climb, I know I'm going to be at maximum effort. I'm probably not going to be able to take anything for the full final climb. So I would actually work backwards from there. But if those time gaps and the distance gaps don't go to plan because you're moving slower, that could then set you off at the wrong timing for your fuel on the way through. So the people are going to have to really think about this, because it is not flat out pace. It is rolling along pace. Yes, it's quick, but that's because they are some of the best riders in the world.
Absolutely. I was going to tell a story then, but I'm not going to tell it because,
Come on.
It was actually about a race taking too long and drinking too much, and then when the final effort came, being unable to do the final effort, because really I didn't want to race hard at that point. I wanted to
Do something else.
Do something else.
Be somewhere else.
I drunk too much, let's put it that way.
There you go. Far too much information for a Sunday.
See, I told you I
and
shouldn't
whatever
have told
time
the
zone it
story.
is. So, well, I could do the opposite.
But let's not. Let's carry on and watch the racing, shall we? As Jack Staples is part and parcel of the push here on the Category 3 race.
Well, making sure you've got enough fuel with you is going to be key, isn't it? Rather than too much, and enough fluids, because we do see pictures of riders with bottles lined up at the side of them. And if it takes longer, you're still hot, you're still exerting effort, you're still pushing on here. I think Category 3 are not going to have that issue because they are actually moving really quite quickly at the moment. And Staples, Tortoretto and Gates on the move. Now, if you've watched one of Tom Gates' YouTube videos, you'll know there's probably going to be a puddle on the floor underneath him because he will have sweated so much. He will have had to take on board plenty of fluid, and he's never going to have any of Emma's issues because you know what? He is going to be perspiring at a substantial rate as he goes in and through. I'm just going to mute Emma's mic at the moment. She giggles in the corner here in the studio. So, Jason Osborne, however, is a consummate pro making his way down here. He will have plenty of spare bottles at the side of the course. He's also, of course, going to have plenty of spare food, fuel, gels. He's going to be ready to go. He'll be able to do that. Now, if you want to see what the guys are up to, a lot of the riders do have their own personal feeds. Some of them will be put what they got up to on YouTube. It's always really interesting. So if you are a rider who streams your ride, please, guys, let us know. Tag in at Biking Emma at MyFixerPay, and we promise if you've got any secrets on there, we will put it public and we will tell everybody about it, as you have just heard. Now, let's get back to the segment number 4. Really interesting here that this is now back with Category 1. They've started to move a little bit quicker, and despite what we've talked about as being a steady pace, they are the fastest riders in segment number 4.
Yeah, they are indeed. So segment number 4, a 3-kilometre segment, 4 minutes and 10 seconds, with Hassan Sultan taking the fastest time through there. In fact, the board lit up there with yellow jerseys, and taking a little look down the screen, 21 riders in that leading group now. Mikel Suarez, the next fastest rider through, and the rest of the Category 2 pack, but they are 10, 11, 12 seconds slower through that segment than the Category 1 pack you see in front of you.
So that is the time difference between 1 and 2. Category 3 riders, they came through 17 seconds slower than Category 1, and Category 4, well, they came through some 30 seconds slower. And it gives you an indication of those times in between the riders at the different paces they roll on. And because of where this segment is, really good indicator of how those relative paces are, because people have settled down, whether they're playing the classic sort of schoolboy racing, going off like absolute lunatics and then blowing up before they get to the finish, or whether they've got a more measured professional approach, taking it steady and then getting quicker and saving their energy for where it matters most. By this stage in the racing, generally, we get a good reflection and what the riders are doing and how they are riding. Now, this group continue to push onwards. Meanwhile, Henry Oyster's got company at the front. It is Nicholas Spratt in there, and looks like no. Oh, I'm going to just take that back. Actually, Nicholas Spratt just up the road slightly from Ice and Bjarhead. These are the 3 riders. Now they're being chased by Phil Graves, and now it looks to me like they're going to get back together a small group, but it is fracturing the group behind here. And Emma, this is one way to do it, isn't it? Take away a few riders here, hope that you can garner maybe 4 or 5 riders, and then that could be big enough to stay clear of that group behind.
Well, absolutely, you know, in each of these 4 categories, when we've been watching, a large group, so 21 riders in Category 1, we had 23 riders in the group in Category 2, and quite rightly at the 20-kilometre mark, that is far too many riders of this quality to carry into that final climb. And Spratt and Bjarhead are 2 of the riders in this group pushing forward at the moment. The other riders in the pack behind are going to have to be careful. They are 3 seconds back, and this could be a move that sticks. This attack is on the downhill at the moment, and it's really interesting to see that, because utilising the momentum of the downhill and the kick when most riders are expecting a recovery period for a downhill section is a great tactic.
It is, and I think that's what you've got to try sometimes. You just got to try that something different. Now, Jakob Björklund starting to push on. You can see the numbers all of a sudden up in those 6 watts per kilo. The response has come pretty quickly behind. Now, SS with the blue cap, one of the riders. Now, we talked earlier about him being the rider being sent to close down moves, to pull groups back. He's a rider capable of taking victory in his own right, and good on a big climb. We saw him really come to the fore in the championships when we came up to the top of the hill of feet on any of our big climbing days. He's a rider who's very strong, and he is up at the front here marking this group. He's a rider with the blue cap, SS, sitting in there with Jakob Björklund, with Stefan van Elst, and they are on the front here, but the group has come back and they are going to go over the top, I think, just because of the speed that they had to chase this group down.
Yeah, absolutely. So this pack now moving hard, and Suarez, the Category 2 rider, still hanging on in there, right at the very back of this group at the moment, but desperately working to stay with this group and take the tow to the Category 2 riders down the road. So this group absolutely pushing on now. So SS here, Björklund, Kaminski, Paradians, Dahn, all working at the front of this group. 1 or 2 riders now distanced off the back. Are they going to make the juncture back on? Yes, they are, as on the right hand side of your screen, a little bit further down the road. This is the action in the Category 2 race. Spratt is still here with Bjarhead and Graves. These riders now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders now clear in this Category 2 race. Look at that, the call comes, the hand signal comes. Let's take turns, guys. With 5 riders, we're clear. Now let's work for it.
Yep, the emotes that our riders can put down now, really useful when you get into this situation, knowing how to signal through and off. They've got 5 riders in the group at the front. Be really interesting to see how many riders are in the group behind. We'll get a good indication when they come through the end of the segment. We'll be using that to get information from the race at the moment. 5 seconds, but they're starting to do that through and off. This turn and turn about. If everybody in this group works together, they will open the gap. If they carry passengers, they won't, because it will take the pressure off. So everybody in the group needs to work. That's Category 2, right hand side. Category 1, one big group, not in that situation at the moment. The pace is hotting up at the bottom of your screen. Category 3, Gates, Stables, Tortorello, all pushing at the moment, but you can just see the gaps are opening. Right hand side at the bottom, one long line. Really interesting to see how this continues to play out for very different races being played out on your screens at the minute.
Yeah, well, whilst there is 6 kilometres, or 8 kilometres, should I say, between Category 1 and Category 4, there's around 300 metres between the leaders in Category 3 and the leaders in Category 4 at the moment. We are very shortly going to see the catch being made between Category 3 and Category 4. It's Gates and Staples who are the 2 riders away. In fact, there's 3 riders away because Tortoretto is there as well. So the 3 leading riders at the moment in the Category 3 race on this 3rd climb. This is the final climb before our Category 3 climb takes them to the checkered flag. So Gates, Staples and Tortoretto, they are 22 seconds behind the leaders in that Category 4 race field.
I'll tell you something, I wouldn't want to be in that group, because you're going to have to really work in there. There's no weaker riders in there, and if these 3 riders work together, Gates, Tortoretto and Staples, I can just see that gap opening. It's currently at 15 seconds to Hoyos, 17 to Bala and Schwartz as they go up over the top. That is a substantial gap. They could hold this into the climb. They're going to take that lead into the final climb, and they may well just continue to open that. They are trying to close down on the riders on the right-hand side of your screen. They are the leaders in Category 4. I think everybody together, there they are. So the riders in Category 4 are one group all together, and they are on this climb. They are at 29.4k, so they're not far off the top of this climb. Will go over the top. Now, it's not quite such a plateau at the top as we've seen on the preceding ascents, and that is going to make a difference, because on climbs 1 and 2 there was a long stretch for riders to get back together. These riders will pick up speed pretty quickly, because when they get to the top of this climb, it's going to go downhill pretty fast. That quick transition from ascent to descent really does make a difference. Now, It looks like Gates are wanting to get this group across onto the riders in red, onto that group before they go over the top and use the big pack on the downhill. But time is running out. He's going to need some assistance from Staples and Tortoretto. At the moment, they are hemorrhaging time. They've gone from 15 seconds. I've seen 10 seconds hit that clock just now. So they've lost about a third of the time to the group behind. They need to be pushing on here, and they need to try and use the group in front to their advantage and get as much draft assistance as possible. But it needs Staples, Gates and Tortoretto to work together behind. We're starting to see riders like Alex Pleasure up there, really strong riders who can sprint and climb, trying to close the gap down. It's at 8, now 9 seconds the gap behind these riders. It's coming down. They've got to keep pushing, and they've got to push hard. They're over the top. They're into the descent now, and this is where, if there is a bigger group behind, it's going to be very difficult to stay clear.
Well, no one's staying clear at the moment in this Category 1 race. It's still a big pack. At last count, 21 riders in this group, and we are back to a steady pace. So it's currently around 3.5 watts per kilo as we see a rider decide that that steady pace is too much. And it's Sultan, I think, who has pushed on. Hassan Sultan leading the charge here as we continue to see this pack chase and catch. So all back together again. And interestingly, it's Knudsen and X100 who are over the back of this group at the moment. So no big push coming. Knudsen's heart rate 142 at the moment. He is well off his maximum. We've seen Knudsen hit around 201 at the finish line before. So still some way to go.
Right, okay, so let's see how they going at the moment. At the end of segment number 5, you can see, in fact, Category 2, the fastest of our riders at segment 5 at the moment, with Phil Graves going through. Remember, these times are live and subject to change on the road. So if somebody comes through on an absolute flyer behind chasing, who's further down on the road, they will move themselves up through these rankings. So it's Graves at the moment, that man who is flying at the moment, currently in the fastest time spot. He'd be in that hot seat with Betty, but behind you can see the rest of the race within about 4 seconds, so still plenty of room for manoeuvre as we start to see SS winding this up at 6.5 watts per kilo. So we are now kicking our way through. It's a little bit of a rise, and the UAE clan team are using this, trying to use it to their advantage to push on. SS with that blue cap, very distinctive up on the front of this group, really is starting to wind it up, and making sure you personalize your avatar is really key, isn't it, Emma?
It is indeed. I'm rather partial to the blue, yellow and white striped cap that some of our riders are wearing today, but that blue cap, blue gloves and blue shoes very much signals SS.
It is. It's very traditional sort of Italian Azzurri colours there, the blue cap with the stripes on there. And don't forget, there's so much choice, isn't there? If you want to know how to personalise your avatar, jump onto the YouTube channel. Look for the video by Jeff on there. Some great content on there from Jeff about how to personalize your avatar, connect up your turbo trainer, how to make sure it's all rolling. Please do jump on and get on there, give it a like if you found it useful as well. Really, really handy resource. Now, I know Tom Gates has got this dialed inside out as he's joined by Tortoretto and Staples here. And I think that's the hat you were talking about, is it not, Emma?
It is indeed. Look at that. So yellow, blue, white, and I think a little dash of pink in there as well. But Gates, Staples and Tortoretto pushing on. The gap back now to Hoyos, who's leading the Category 3 group, 20 seconds. So they've extended their lead on the Category 3 pack, chasing behind, and they are working their way through the red jerseys of the Category 4 pack. In fact, that in front of them is the leading group on the road. That's the leaders of the Category 4 race, and our 3 leaders of the Category 3 race are about to join them.
And taking a lift with him is John Alex Castano Acevedo. John Acevedo doing the work there to stay with the riders in Category 3, and that has brought him back up to the leaders of Category 4. So whilst the group were all across the road there and not pushing on. The guys in Category 3 have pulled up one of the Category 4 riders with them. And Acevedo is that rider who has rejoined. Now, this is where we really pay close attention. This is where the riders have to pay close attention, because the Category 3 riders have got a better power to weight ratio. At the moment, they are on the descent, but it should be that when we hit the climb that is coming up, that the Category 3 riders are able to put the Category 4 riders under pressure. But they have worked hard to get to that positioning. Maybe they need to take a break.
Yeah, absolutely. So Category 4 and Category 3 leaders, the leaders on the road at the moment at 33.1 kilometres. On the left-hand side of your screen, it's Category 1. They were the last riders to start, 20 minutes behind Category 4. They are currently at 25.5 kilometres of the 45-kilometre race distance.
So a Category 1 at the moment, just starting to get a little bit more pacey, a little bit more injection coming in time and time again. And this time it looks like Jakob Björklund it is who's on the attack. So Björklund not wanting to leave this to the final climb. He's wanting to make life a little bit harder for these riders and stretch them out. He may feel he's really confident the pace is just too easy. He wants to keep them under pressure. He wants that extra work out. David Dunn doing some chasing with SS here. They are the riders that are coming across, and SS again, look at this. It's really obvious, isn't it? The SS today is working to pull back anybody who goes down the road.
Yeah, and we are not seeing any of the other members of that UAE clan team. They are hidden in that bunch. I think their plan is to light up this climb.
I think it is, and anybody who moves beforehand, SS is going to pull them back, and once they get to that climb, expect to see the team go. Now, let's give you a quick recap of the UAE clan team. You have got SS in there, who is the rider who's pulling all of the brakes back. You've got their road captain, Mr. X100, in there, a rider who has the potential and has taken wins before on the Sunday Race Club. You've got in there Michael Knudsen, another strong rider who can take wins on a climb. He regularly is battling it out with Pablo Popovic, who has the momentum, he has the pace, he's got the speed, and he's got an explosive final kick, which if he comes in with another rider into the finish, could put him in position. But they have up their sleeves the one and only Michael Vink, who is a world-class World Tour rider who has the capability of sitting at pace for a long time. Not sure he's got the same monumental kick that Pablo Popovic carries, but he can hold that power for a long time. And Michael Vink could be the rider who tries to go clear. Surprised he hasn't tried it yet, but we have seen with the increasing numbers of fast riders in Category 1, it's harder to go clear and stay clear.
Well, the number of fast riders in Category 1 is phenomenal, because Osborne is in here as well today. So, you know, there are a lot of riders who could finish in that top 5.
So we talk about Jason Osborne. Bit more detail, Emma, for those people who've not been watching. So Jason Osborne, I'll tell you this one, because I've done my stalking on Jason for a long time. I've had the pleasure of watching Jason Osborne race on this platform for a long time. So Jason, Olympic rower, silver medalist in the Olympics rowing. He's also the rider whose regular training involves cycling. Now, he was a regular rider riding for the Wolfpack, for the De Koning squad. He picked up his next contract based on his riding here on MyWhoosh and his performances on esports. So Jason Osborne, a top flight World Tour rider. Now, he was a pro. He's included in here. He's been absolutely fine, and he's been right at the top of esports for a long time. He's a rider who we know can take victory in this, but he's mixing it with a road contract as well. Michael Vink is a rider who really came to the fore, riding, in my eyes, much more on esports, and definitely is a rider who can take it on. And those two are probably our top 2 riders. If you took the overall field and their talent pool, they would probably be the 2 that you would put at the top overall. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be the top 2 today, because they can be beaten, and that is the wonderful thing about esports. Riders are riding all around the globe at different times and different race programs. And if you do a really tough training week, you are not going to necessarily be on form the next day or even the next week, are you?
Absolutely not. And never assume where you are going to finish.
Well, let's not say anything because that quote could have been used earlier today, I suspect, for our riders knowing where they were going to finish, even within the sight of the finishing line. Right, Michael Vink, clearly listening in, has decided, well, it's time to stretch my legs. So here we go, Michael Vink on the front, and Vink at not 4, not 5, not 6, but 8 watts per kilo. He's sitting there just under 8 now and sees the riders coming up to him. Michael Kaminsky, the rider who comes across, actually a rider we didn't really mention there, but Michael Kaminsky, absolute class, closed him down. It could be Kaminsky's day at the top of this climb. He's been knocking on the door for a little while.
Well, Kaminsky leading out at the moment and wanting to keep the pace a little bit higher than it has been. Jay Holwiller there as well as Jason Osmond, Bart van den Eck out too. Fujasin was part and parcel of that chase. He really didn't want anyone to get away. We are now coming up to 29 kilometers, around 44 minutes of this race. And this pack all still together. So at my last count, we had 20 riders in this leading group in this category 1 race field, and they are continuing to work, and this pace now picking up a little bit as that they continue to move together and they continuing to try and pull Kaminsky back in.
So Michael Kaminsky, the rider for the Canyon Esports team, absolutely flying. He'll want to improve his performance. Regular mountain biker as well. So going to have plenty of kick, plenty of pace. And, interesting to see how he is doing at the moment. A rider from the Gravel World Championships as well, regular rider at the World Championships. We will see where he's going to be. 24th, actually, the Esports Worlds this year, 14th in 2021. But a rider who has got some serious pace. Will it be his day today? He's got his work cut out because this final climb is going to be tough stuff. The group currently at 30k. So let's have a little bit of a think and a look at that final climb, because I think it is going to be decisive in all of our categories here. Emma, take us through the section, really, I think for me, from the descent down off climb number 3.
Yeah, so climb number 3, pretty much roughly where most of our race fields are at the moment. No one's yet come into that final climb. So at 27.1 kilometers, that is the start of climb number 3. We drop off that climb. We roll through what I'm going to call the foothills of that category 3 climb to the 38.8 kilometer mark, where the climb starts in earnest. We have a 6.2 kilometer climb with an average gradient of 5.2%. Now, as you can see, it is a very stepped climb, and there are some exceptionally steep sections here. We will see the gradient top 10-12%. There are flatter sections and there are some downhill sections on this climb too, so momentum is everything, and we are going to see some large race fields go into the bottom of this climb together.
The steps, if you ignore the first step that's in there, so at 38.8 we're rising up, it then drops a little bit, but then you hit the main climb, and there's no real descent after that, is there? That point upwards, it's steep, but the steps are not long enough to get a recovery in, are they? They're the sort of step that is going to break the rhythm.
Well, no, the steps aren't long enough to get a recovery in, and also you're making an assumption that the flatter section is for recovery. We talked about assumptions earlier on. Now, places to attack are where people would not expect it, where riders expect to get recovery. So on a downhill or on a flatter section on a climb, riders may normally expect to get some recovery in micro rest during the race, but actually in terms of tactics, they are the places to attack.
Well, I'm not sure anybody was expecting Tom Gates to attack here. This is a classic point. So you can see at the moment at 38.3, he is already on that ascent. He's done the first ascent. He's into that descent section, very much in towards the continuous climbing part of the climb here. So you can just see he's going to hit the kicker. He's going to make his way up. Absolutely clear with Staples of Tortoretto. There's clear air between them and Felipe Tortoretto, but Tortoretto coming back now. He's working hard, Tortoretto, but he's got to push now. He won't want to let that gap go. He needs to get into the draft. Gates successfully drafting Staples. They've taken the right-hand turn, and now comes this kick upwards. This is ascent. We are going to be coming through. You can see they're going to come underneath the banner here that indicates the start of segment 7. Segment 7 is from 38.9k right the way through to 43.9, so finishing 1.1k before the finish. It's a 5k segment, so it's going to be really interesting to see. Give us a good time, a snapshot of the riders going in. So category 3 leading on the road, being led out by Tom Gates onto the climb. Starts to put the hammer down at over 4 watts per kilo, being answered by Staples and Tortoretto.
Yeah, and look at the race on behind in category 4. It's Soberg who's come to the front of that category 4 pack with Mamba and Decker. Mendoza is in there as well as Montoya. So it is all race go in the category 4 race 2.
And they are just behind the category 3 riders. You can see them going into that right-hand bend. Category 3 at the front, category 4 behind, and it is starting to stretch out here. The riders are pushing on. They want to make the distance. They want to open this up. Meanwhile, back in category 1, it is a split with Kaminsky having SS on his heels at the moment, but the group is going to come back together, and it's Jasper Paradians who's going to make the catch. I think he's coming through a couple of watts per kilo higher than most of the rest of the group, and he's made the catch. This group coming back together. It looks to me though like at least one of the riders distanced out the back of the group here, so maybe we're just seeing that whittling down of riders being ejected out, these little fragments of the group just being left one by one behind. But looks like there could be a bit of a surge, bit of a recovery. Could have just been a rider taking a chance to eat a bar, losing focus, losing concentration for a second. Not everybody can guzzle food and shovel down gels whilst putting out maximum effort. Very, very tricky, and something that a lot of riders actually train specifically to be able to do.
Well, absolutely. And that's segment number 6, the results you can see in front of you, and they are mixed, giving you an indication of what's going on in the race. So Kaminsky and SS, the 2 riders attacking off category 1, setting the fastest time through there, 7 minutes 28 seconds. The second fastest time being set by the leading group of 5 riders in the category 2 race. Betty Spratt, Graves and Oos Biarhead is there as well. So those 5 riders are leading the category 2 race. Then it's the chase pack in the category 1 race. Sultan, Nair, Van Elsfood, Jassen and Howeller rounding out the top 12.
So a really interesting results so far, as we see Mr. X100 now starting to stretch his legs out here. Now, this could be a climb. Mr. X100 known for his time trial ability, and I'm surprised that they have let him go. But let him go they have. Knudsen, Osborne, Bjorkland and co are set at 4 watts per kilo, some at 3, because they're in that group. Mr. X100 at 4.8, nearly 5 watts per kilo, and we know he can hold this now at 5 watts per kilo to the top of that climb. So here we go, Mr. X100 leading the race out, the road captain showing how it's done for the team, for the UAE clan team. What are the rest of the teams that are going to do? The Gelato squad, well, Johan Noren representing them, David Dunn from Beast Mode, Pudding, Powered by Road, the Waffle squad with Van den Eyck out. They're all going to be looking for good performances here today. Remember, of course, when we go into our finals next week, the teams will be up for team prizes as well. Really key to get that team dialed and have a strong team when you come into the finals.
And last finals in, I just had to think about what month it was last month, May. The category 1 team race in this men's competition was phenomenal. The first 3 teams, there was about 9 seconds separating them. It was absolutely an eyeballs out team competition. If you want to watch racing on esports at its best, go and watch the men's May final. It was absolutely phenomenal. The Italian Gelato, the Belgian Waffles and the UAE clan team. It was an absolute dogfight for the finishing line between all the members of those teams. And I think 1-2 came down to 3 seconds. Now, let's bear in mind, it's the top 3 riders' times in each team added together that gives you the team win in the classification.
It is indeed, and I'm looking forward to watching that. Now, next week is our finals, and Emma will be bringing you all of the action. I am on duty for the UCI, the world's governing body, and going to be putting words to the action of the World Cup. I may be able to catch it, so I might be with you watching the action and watching some amazing racing in the footage and watching it. If I don't catch it live, I will be watching it back after, but I'm hoping to be able to sneak it in live while sat in the studio there in between takes for the BMX Super Cup. And don't forget, of course, Emma and myself on international duty for the UCI as well as MyWhoosh. And you can follow us on social media. It's at Biking Emma for my co-host here across, who will be leading the coverage here at MyWhoosh next week. And for myself, it's at Matt Fixer Payne, and please do give us a follow, if only so you can laugh at my pathetic efforts at riding a bike on Strava, which you'll catch me on there as well, although you might find some dog walking there too, which is probably just as energetic sometimes. So please do give us a follow. It's great to catch up with what you're doing, and of course make sure whilst you're on there you jump on and tag in MyWhoosh. Now back to the action. Category 4 and Category 3 are absolutely motoring at the moment. The Category 3 leaders at the moment at 41 kilometres. They are the leaders on the road. Category 4 leaders at 40.96. They're just behind. They are just tucked in with the Category 3 chasers. Category 2, well, we have our leading group of Bjarhead, Ace, Graves, Spratt and co up at the front of Bjarhead at the moment, just pushing on in Category 2. Category 1, we have seen repeated attacks. Mr. X100, the latest attacker, but we, I think, are going to see a battle royal as we go up into the finish, as these riders make their way down the road. Category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen, Category 2 on the right-hand side of the screen, but it will come down to this final climb. Remember, this final climb continues right the way to our finish at 45 kilometres. The leaders in Category 2 just underneath the banner, signifying the start of the segment at the base of the climb. Category 1, well, you can see this group continuing to ride at a steady pace and give away time here to Mr. X100.
Yeah.
This is dangerous. 25
seconds, and it is dangerous indeed. Great tactics from the UAE clan team putting X100 down the road. Normally, riders would be expecting to see Vink go down the road, and he hasn't this week. So Vink very much in the pack, X100 down the road, and you are right, Matt. Vink, X100, sorry, a great time trialer. We know he can hold a steady pace and hold it very, very long. Now, we've seen him utilize that tactic to bring a group back who have gone away from him. This is fantastic because he is down the road, time trialing away from the group and utilizing his skill set in a different way.
He is, and just whilst we're thinking about riders who are utilizing skill sets, gotta say, big up to Duvan in here, Duvan Agadello, Category 4 rider, hanging with the pack at the moment, using this. Now, you might have expected him to come belting past, but he's taken the opportunity, because of the pace they're riding, to jump in with this group. It's the biggest group on the road, is Category 1 pack. Duvan, in the red jersey, is sat in there.
Well,
that is great skills, and it's playing to your strengths, isn't it?
I agree completely, but let's just mention that Jason Osborne's heart rate's 118 at the moment.
Ooh.
Now, for some people, their heart rate would be that walking the dog.
I can't imagine what you mean.
But, so this Category 1 pack, you know, this is a steady pace. No one is chasing X100 at all. You know, they are very content to let him go down the road. 116 beats Jason Osborne at the moment. That is a very, very steady heart rate at the moment, rolling into that final climb. That is what is allowing our Category 4 rider to stay with them.
And you can just see as Mr. X100 goes underneath the Elephant Rock, this real place in the desert. You can actually go underneath and ride underneath this. You can see the footage of the guys out on the tours riding underneath. Great scenery here. Mr. X100 in and through as the rest of the riders are approaching here. this is a long way here in a little between these two groups. And at the moment, we're only just starting to see a little bit of a response here. And now it's coming from everybody else. So Kaminsky starting to wind up, and immediately anybody who moves is being marked out by the UAE clan team. And this is going to put them off because they know that when they put an effort in, they're just dragging along, giving a free ride to the rest of the UAE clan team. How much distance dare they give Mr. X100 on this climb? Very, very interesting. Because, of course, the UAE clan team, are they just going to let him go? Why wouldn't you?
Well, you're not going to chase your own team rider down the road, are you?
No.
When you can monitor the group and hold them back. But our Category 4 rider was the rider challenged by that injection of pace, now no longer with this Category 1 pack.
Well, plenty of time to get up into the finish. Well done doing whilst you're in there, mate. And you can just see that little bit of a kick as they came up. This is on a slight gradient and increase enough to distance our riders, but to remember, of course, all of our riders timed over the finishing line. Those results live whilst the race is in progress, whilst we still have riders on course. It is then an unofficial result until the results are verified. If you want to know about the verification, jump on, have a read of the blog. You can find the blog on the MyWhoosh.com website. Have a look at that, and you find all sorts of very interesting detail if you're that way inclined. If you're not, well, just play fair. It's dead easy. Just ride dead straight. Now, let's go back to the racing, Emma. Tom Gates at the moment in the leading duo. Gates and Staples is now, who are the two leaders on the left of your screen. They're the furthest down the road, but they only have what is looking like a couple of 100 meters at most.
Yeah, it's about 250 meters separating the front of the Category 3 with the chasers behind, but 250 meters at 5% uphill is a long way to go. So Tom Gates currently leading the Category 3 race, Jack Staples in 2. These two riders are clear. It's then Winfield, Diaz. Tortoretto has been pulled back in. He was the third rider who was with Staples and Gates earlier on. He's now no longer with them. This is the chasing group: Diaz, Winfield, Aaron, Tortoretto. Acevedo is in here as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders chasing Gates and Staples. They are clear by 9 seconds at the moment.
Well, let's see how these riders go. This is very, very interesting. I love this bit in the tunnels. It really changes the feel and the pressure on the riders, and you can just see how many riders going in the red. Johan Aaron, who is riding strongly on the Chinuches with Staples, with Gates here, and it looks to me like this is going to be a real push. Acevedo it is, who is taking the momentum up here. He's up on to the wheels. He's going to get himself, I think, up to Aaron here, but this is tough stuff.
It is tough stuff indeed, and it's Tortoretto and Winfield who are the two riders in danger here. They need to push on to bring these three back, as Gates and Staples are just in sight up the road.
Well, the leaders in sight up the road, that is Category 4. Meanwhile, Category 1 are pushing. They are onto the climb, and Category 1 starting to get strung out. You can just see that this group is starting to stretch. The pressure is coming on. We're starting to see riders in Category 1 in their red zone, and that means we are seeing some big, big power being put down in Category 1. Both our screens in Category 3 and 1 are being lit up by the power of our riders here, and it shows you that the racing is on. All our riders onto the final climb. Who's going to take this out? Now the leaders on the road, Tom Gates and Jack Staples, will be wanting to be the first over the finishing line, but they'll want to take away prizes in their category, and at the moment Tom Gates is in there. Now is Gates going to be able to take the win here today? He's ridden strongly here before, but he has the power of Jack Staples to contend with. Staples is glued to his wheel as they go through the end of that segment. There'll be nothing to separate these two riders, and it means that we have 1.1k to the finish, 1,100 meters to go.
Well, Gates and Staples stretching their lead now, 13 seconds back to the chasing group. Aaron, Acevedo and Esteban. Winfield has caught back to that group as well, but Staples and Gates now into the last 1,000 meters.
So here we go, the leaders trying to hold off the chasers while simultaneously battling for the win. This is the run up. It is uphill to the finish all the way here. Gates and Stables together. We're in to 900 meters to go now. And at the moment you can see Tom Gates on the front. So it's Gates with the black helmet with the red stripes on, leading this out. Jack Stables behind with the white cap. He's at the moment starting to be distanced by Tom Gates. Gates is putting in a bid here to break clear, but Staples is answering him. They're at 7%. They're at 700 meters. They surely can't keep this effort all the way to the finish. What a push here.
Yeah, so Gates and Staples continually rotating the lead at the moment. Staples in 1, Gates in 2. 7 watts per kilo, but there's 14% at the moment. The steepness of this final sweeping left-hand bend is absolutely crucial to the finishing stages of this race, and it's Gates who is making the most of this at the moment. He's got a small gap on Staples, and he goes into the tunnel with 500 meters to go. Staples pushing hard. Tom Gates now in 2, Staples in 1. It's constantly changing.
And they're coming back behind as well now. So Staples and Gates in the lead. Aaron is coming at them. He could make this a really tough day at the office for them if they don't take this. But Gates has got over the top. But has he got the momentum? Has he got the roll? He's got to get this kick right into the finish. This descent is tricky. It's going to kick again. Gates is going. It's Tom Gates who's going to take the win. Over he goes. What a win by Gates.
So Gates in 1, Staples in 2, Aaron in 3, and it's Acevedo who drops into the descent with Esteban on his wheels. Can Acevedo stay, or is Esteban kicked? Esteban's timing is phenomenal, and he comes over the top of Acevedo for 4th place.
Wow, what a finish on the way in and through from our leaders on the road. They are our Category 3 riders, and that was a great finish. Don't forget, you can pick up all of those results on the MyWhoosh.com website, and they are live at the moment. They'll go to unofficial and then verified eventually. Now, we've still got our Category 2 and Category 1 riders to get up into the finish. Category 2 at 42.9k. I'm not sure that the leaders in Category 1 are going to pull them back. They are onto the climb proper at 41.4k. And you know what? This group is still all together, Emma.
Well, let's not forget we've also got our Category 4 riders on the climb as well. As we can see, the Category 2 race hotting up, and it's Philip Graves who puts in the dig. So Graves, Spratt, Biarhead, 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds separating them. Graves is the rider trying to kick away. You can see the rest of that pack just coming into the tunnel behind him as Graves is utilising the gradient here. It's kicking up to 9%, and Graves is kicking at 6 watts per kilo. Biarhead and Spratt are the 2 doing the chasing, but are they going to catch him? Is this the move that is going to win Graves the race? Is still some way to go.
Wow, some way is an understatement, isn't it, Emma? I mean, that is a big move by Graves. He's looking to take this out. Meanwhile, you can see we are in here, and it looks to me like this is going to be our lead in Category 4, making its way to the line.
It is indeed. It's Montoya Galeo who has gone through in 1st place from Rodel Mendoza in the Category 4 race. So Category 4 winner is indeed... Excuse me, the Category 4 winner is indeed Montoya Galeo.
So it is Galeo taking top spot. I think it's going to be Mendoza taking 2nd place in that Category 4 competition. 3rd place is going to go to Ephraim Mamba. And remember, these are results unofficial at the moment. We are literally live coming to you as the racing speeds its way up this hill and into the finish. Meanwhile, Category 1, this is a real battle in here. You can see Noran Kaminsky, Bujasin Paradins all in here as well. Popovic in here now. This is not gone yet. This is not exploded. It is not pulled apart. I'm just wondering, I haven't seen Mr. X100 for a
Do you
while.
know, we are 2.5 kilometres into this 6-kilometre climb in this Category 1 race, Matt, and this pack are all still together. We said this was a world-class field. We said there was serious talent in this pack, and boy, are they showing us that today. So, Popovic, Vujasin, Noren, Kaminsky, Osborne, Nair, Knudsen, all in this group.
Well, here we go. This is the run in. We're over the last big section before we take a little bit of a level in here. And this is going to be a little bit of a drop down. Meanwhile, Mr. X100 at the moment, he is been dropped just a little bit further back. He's at 42.56. So that attack, this explains what had happened. That attack had gone clear. He'd been caught, he'd been pulled back, and then just dropped off the back of that group. But has he done enough damage to the riders who are now in the race lead in Category 1, who are not his teammates, to allow his teammates to do their thing? Now, big roll through coming. It looks like I think Noren rolling through in the front of that group. But it's Michael Knudsen who's got the race lead at the moment in Category 1 from Johan Noren. So at the moment, it is the teammate of Mr. X100 who is on the attack, and it's Michael Knudsen. But look at that group behind. It's like Jaws at the moment. He's looking behind. He can see that they're getting closer. He won't want them to get their teeth into him, but they're going to. And it is going to be Jason Osborne who goes over the top. Meanwhile, we're going to take a little bit of a run back because we are with the one and only Philip Grace in here. Well, it's not all that long ago. He was sat on a beach having an ice cream on the coast, putting his feet up. But this will make it 3 races this week, 2 tune-up Tuesdays, where he was racing twice in the same day. But today, he has got the power. He's got an 18-second lead, and we're going to run into this descent. Will it be Philip Grace Day? I think it's going to take a minor miracle to stop him on the way through, and I think Phil Grace can revel in this, but Ice is at 10 seconds, so he can't relax too much.
No, he can't indeed, because Ois and Biarhead are behind. In fact, Biarhead has moved into second place as Phil Graves comes up and sees the yellow banner. Philip Graves takes the win in Category 2.
And you've got Ice and Biarhead fighting now for 2 and 3. Meanwhile, this is the front of the race. Jason Osborne going over the top of Pablo Popovic and Michael Knudsen. So Osborne at the moment racing it out with the riders here. But Johan Noren on a storming ride here today as well. Now, Jason Osborne, a real class act, but he has not got the power of Popovic. I think on these little kickers, Popovic seems to just get that momentum right time and time again. He's got this platform down. He's at 43.94, so about to hit 44k covered, 1k to go. And at the moment, Pablo Popovic is starting to open a gap.
Well, this is Popovic's finish because he has won numerous times on this climb. He's absolutely got the timing of that descent into the drop of the finish. Perfect for that momentum, but Popovic in 1, Knudsen in 2, Noren in 3. Osborne is there as well. In fact, that is a chase group of 7 riders at last count. X100 is further down the road as Popovic swings around the corner. He comes past Ospina, Vink, Knudsen, Noren, Paradians and Osborne all in that chase group behind.
It's a big chasing pack, and they are
coming back, you know.
Down. Do you know what, Emma? This is what we want in a race finish. We want to see these riders coming back together. We want them to be fighting it out for every single meter. And Pablo Popovic's kick here is going to be pulled back. Look at that. It's a big group here. Come on, Emma. Who's your money on?
600 meters to go in this Category 1 race. We've got 5 riders neck and neck. Knudsen, Paradians, Osborne, Popovic, Noren, Vink. Vink is the rider at the back of this group, you know, as Knudsen pushes at 10 watts per kilo. They've got 400 meters to go. Knudsen is pushing, Osborne is there, Paradians and Popovic, Noren. Vink is at the back. They continue to push us. Michael Knudsen's kicking at 8 watts per kilo. Pablo Popovic is coming. They're coming out of the tunnel. There is 300 meters to go. Knudsen's got 2 seconds on Popovic. Vink and Osborne neck and neck with Popovic as they go up the climb, and Knudsen has got it. Knudsen is going to win this. Knudsen is going to go through. Vink is going to come through in 2, Popovic in 3. Knudsen wins the Category 1 race. qualifier number 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
You can just see Ian Lloyd making his way in and through there in category 3. Michael Kaminsky on his way up the climb. What a frantic finish. We love this race finish because it's not over until you get underneath that banner. And that kept Michael Knudsen honest. There was no freewheeling into the line that time. As you can see, Kaminsky with that final little kick in over that rise. We've got riders all the way down the mountainside. I think our vocal cords pretty much as well. And those are your top 6 in category 1 there. Michael Knudsen taking the win from Michael Vink. Then Pablo Popovic immediately behind with Jason Osborne in 4th, Jasper Paradies in 5th place, and Johan Noren in 6th. You can see a roundup there of your category 2 as well. Phil Graves in 1, Henry Oos in 2, taking that win from Jonas Bjarhed. Don't forget, of course, as our riders continue to come in over the line, Zach Nair taking 7th with Michael Kaminsky taking 8th place. All of these results are live, which is why it's updated right in front of your eyes. Don't forget, you can get all of the full results on the MyWhoosh website. That is mywhoosh.com, and click on to results. Remember, there are 3 stages. We're currently live. We will move at the end of the race to unofficial, and then eventually to verified when all of the checks on the data have been done. Emma, 3 amazing qualifiers. You've got to be looking forward to the finals next week.
Oh, absolutely. Looking forward to putting words to the actions of that final next week. What racing we have seen today. Less than a second separating those first 3 in that category 1 race. And what an attack from Philip Graves in the final stages to win category 2.
And great riding in categories 3 and 4 as we see Mr. X100 come to go up over the line. I think he's going to come through in what is going to be a 9th place today. And we just wait the screens to update. In fact, it's going to be a 10th place for Bart van der Niehout going through 9th just in front. So our top 10 riders in and over the line here. And don't forget, please, guys, jump on board, get a ride in. Remember the platform available on iOS, on Windows, as well as pretty much any operating system Android that you can use. Do jump on. Make sure you come and join Emma. I'll be with you watching from afar as Emma brings you all of the action. You can catch up with me and what I'm up to. It is at Matt Fixerpain on social media. You can find Emma
at Biking Emma.
And don't forget, of course, Emma will be here with our finals, with the whole of the team behind the scenes who bring you the racing here at MyWhoosh. So thank you very much for joining us. We will see you again one way or another next week. From myself, Matt Payne, from Emma Martin. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.